Good evening, everyone. Let's go live. It's 10:05 on September the 8th. Wow, this month is going by quickly already. Shout out to the mob, all my other bears I call the grizzlies and the honey bears. Let's start it off with some music just to, I don't know, relax. I'm going to talk about maybe a few things tonight. And I will wait. But while I'm waiting, let's hear some music. All right. This is music from my liked tracks, And I'm looking at them. I have like 195 liked tracks on this one particular playlist. I could run it for like almost 10 hours. I think I'll do that one day. I just noticed, yeah, over the years, and this would only be a portion of the videos. I mean, the tracks, music tracks that I've liked and, grouped into this one playlist. All right, so who is joining me tonight here in the Bear Cave is Angie, Sharon, Viva, and a few of you who are out in the bushes. So while I'm just waiting, maybe a few more will come in. So last night I mentioned a couple of things. I asked questions and not in any particular order, but just to clarify. So thank you very much for the email this morning to clarify on the question that I asked about sweet pea. I made the statement, I said something like, I don't know if she's, still away or not, but someone responded um, by sending me, I guess, a link to a recent video, right? Remember what I said? I hadn't seen her, but I hadn't been looking for her either. And I just remembered that and remember that someone had mentioned. So I guess that's a good thing. Yeah, she's back on YouTube. Yeah. And I only, say what I do. Yeah, if somebody's been away and they had to, serve a little bit of time, yeah, maybe, it's, what can I say? I don't know. So that was one thing. That was one thing. I guess I could have written some things down, but I didn't. Yeah. So again, not in any particular order. I see Angela, V Love coming in, Vicky, my moderator, Baby Juju. Good evening. Yeah. Please remember to hit the like on your way in to the Bear Cave. Yeah. Because you know what? It does help when you hit the like for the algorithm, and that's part of it, recommending videos to watch. Mhm. And I did see something about, just in general, YouTube videos and what the direction of improving, um, I guess you could say, a content creator's ability to get their videos seen. So it's really not going to be based on, oh, you have 1,000 subscribers. No. Or this or that. It's more or less, do you have a niche? One of the things YouTube is looking for now is uniqueness. If you're, um, and I guess the more that your channel can be um, different, you know, more specialized. Maybe I should say it that way. So more specialized. And you know what? I could do that. I could, and I will be thinking of ways to make it more specialized. Yeah, because if YouTube starts recommending the videos, the more they recommend it, the more people will listen and it will get recommended again. All right. I see, who is Cookie? Have I seen you before? Your avatar looks new. Good evening and welcome. Yes, thank you, Polly. Individualized. That's a good way to put it. Yes. Individualized. Unique. Hmm. Unique. All right. So again, not in any particular order. So I took a look at a post that Maggie just put up. And it was incredible, really, to see um, the post that she created with all of what's I shouldn't say all of because I don't know how many sayings, but identifying sayings made by another content creator against her. Just a lot of one after another. And I thought, wow, to see it on one slide all at once, it made me, it did. I couldn't help but to look at it and just take my time and read all of that. I said, just imagine if I created a post of all the names, insults that I've been called. But it grabbed, it was attention grabbing, even though it was, after I looked at it, I thought about it. I had to pause. I had to pause because when you look at something like that, at least for me, it should make every one of us uncomfortable. When you see words out there or phrases out there like that, right there in front of you, is one thing, to hear it. But when you hear it and then you see it, for me, it made me stop. Because you might just have to ask yourself, what happens when criticism crosses the line into cruelty? All right, so I can just be generalized here. But the post that she put up, it was more or less, and I'll say allegedly, I better say that, fair use commentary. This broadcast is for criticism, education, entertainment purposes only before I, continue. But allegedly, this post was made up of insults that had been hurled at Maggie, the Black Owl. I mean, it's just a barrage, really, of insult after insult, dozens of them, one after another. Words like pathetic, trash, I've used that word before, irrelevant, insane, mentally unstable. Not one, not two, but if you look at it, the way she put it out there, it looks like it's just a wall of verbal, I'll call it D for destruction. How about that? I mean, because let's call it what it is. At least my impression. It's not about a debate or even shade, maybe not even commentary. It's systematic dehumanization. That's what it is. Because words have meaning, and every word you use. And when I looked at that, words meant to erase another person's worth. It really is it was just a wall of verbal, I'll just say verbal insults. It's psychological. Really it is. Warfare, I mean, it's dressed up, but let's be real. If true, if true, if true, it would be D for disgusting, because words matter. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with someone. You don't have to like them. But when the entire vocabulary is hate, or what are you really building? A platform? Or is it a prison of bitterness? Online spaces, you know, we're given, we're all in this community, are loud enough. But it was on some level impressive in that you could see it all. At least I could. I'm like, whoa. Yes, I don't listen to everybody. I don't. But that's why I said, if true, wow. You can agree to disagree, critique, expose, but to dehumanize a person, that's where things get a little cross. They do. And we're creators. We are. I mean, sometimes, things are said during the heat of the moment. They are. Yeah. But I guess it was just a wall of it. Maybe as a reminder, wow. If somebody can put up an entire wall of phrases, insults being hurled, and it's like a collage, but not a nice one, really. Anyway, I just that kind of stood out for me. I've never really commented on it, but I've never really seen anything quite like that. So, yeah. All right. Mm-hmm. Not in any particular order. uh, wow. I guess you never know a person until you get to know them or find out what they think about you. Yeah. Or what they're thinking, right? Hmm. Yeah. So, who else is joining me? It's Sunset Salty Sage. Says, seems like they were trying to emotionally shove Maggie over the edge. I'm I'm telling you, the words, if true, this wall of insults, not critique, not it was a bombardment. Now, whether or not all those things were, said all at once, I can't imagine that. But a compilation over time, a wall of words aimed to destroy. So that was impactful, the way that Maggie presented it, because I'm talking about it. Yeah, a wall like that, it had impact, at least for me. I I take note of things like that. Yeah. Mhm. I mean, it was insults. And when insults are repeated, the intent, my opinion, I'm just one person. It isn't necessarily to clarify, but it's to condition because it's repetitive. And when we hear people do this and it's repeated over and over and over, becomes a mantra. And then listeners pick up on a few of those things, or maybe more, and they might begin to believe it's true. Because some of the words are mental health terms, I will say. Calling someone crazy, unstable, delusional, it comes with a bit of a stigma. It does. And it can be disguised as, oh, that's just shade. But you never know how someone might take those names. Mhm. Especially when they're, uh, I'll just say it again, more or less mental health kind of terms. Yeah, like a character assassination. There were other things said. Mhm. Are these opinions or are these labels, again, designed to discredit permanently? Because words have meaning, they do. And if there is someone, I don't know it to be, Sunset, I just put up your comment. Yeah, we're all different, but I should, let me say it like this. Words can be weaponized, and unless you know an individual, personally and their own situation, you don't know if a person has any uh, emotional, you know, things going on in their life that could tip them. I will say, instead of emotional, they could be at a state where things are fragile. Yeah. And all it takes for some is the right timing and the right words and to have a certain feeling. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it's my opinion. I'm one person. I noticed it. I'm just giving commentary on a post that stood out to me. Allegedly, to qualify it again. All right. Who is this? Mm. All right, more comments. Tigerlicious, good evening, says it's giving Lauren's mom, Kendra. I don't know who that is. And I don't even know, is that, maybe it's the name of could be a mom, someone real, or it could be fictional. I don't know. Polly goes on to say, even with all of this, our insults toward them have never gotten close to what they've thrown. Certainly personal. Yeah. Um, there's got to be something there, some background. I don't know everyone, the situation, what brought it to that point, but wow. All right. At most, we've said, oh, okay, so in return, dumb and ignorant for some things that had been said. All right. The word dumb compared to the word ignorant. A person might hear that and, of the two words and look at the word dumb. I don't know, something about that word. But I get what you're saying, though. Yeah. In other words, the worst, the most you've said, or someone has said. Uh, like, share, comment, and subscribe. You're a witness to all those statements throughout the weeks. All right. Over time, that will wear heavily on you. For some, it can. The intention is to hurt. Abuse. Shade. It's not quite shade at all. No, well, you heard me. I I take it, or the words or phrases to mean insults. hmm Actually, words, you're this, you're that, I mean, one after another, insults. Email me right now at unwinewithteddy@gmail.com. Verbal abuse. It's words, linguistics. Mhm. In the past, and it pisses you, say, off how the meaning of words has been changed by people, especially online. Words do have specific meanings and definitions. Mhm. Good evening. Cups of Conversation enters the chat. Allegedly, allegedly. Just looking at your comments. Good evening. I see Luna's blade. Yeah, when you can't call someone's name, just call a person's name. Yeah. There's something. I don't know. Again, I don't know everyone at all. I really, it's kind of like I entered in at a certain point when I um first, kind of noticed, like, who is this? Who are they talking about? Um yeah. But now I know a little bit more. Yes, like you say something weird going on. hmm All right. Um, more music. Same Teddy. Yeah. What else? There's a few things that more I could talk about. Yeah. So a person could say, well, what have I called anyone names? Mm, I've used the word trash. in relation to some things that were said to me. Mhm. And then I paralleled it or put a parody with a trash truck. Yes, I've done that. And most of my words have to do with behavior or things that I strongly think are true. Like if I say someone's evil, I really do mean it. That that's not a word I choose to use lightly at all. So if I say that someone is evil, is with purpose. It is with absolute purpose. And if I've said that, and I know I have, trust me, I have receipts that could go further to explain why I chose that as a word to describe. Yeah. Because that's not a word reserved for everybody. And even someone, that might, let's just say, really care for them. That doesn't mean that they're evil. No, not to me. So that word is reserved. Yeah. It, it each word has a different words have meaning. Let's They do. Words have meaning. Mhm. Yeah. Meant to dehumanize someone? Mm, that's something different. Yeah. But if I've chosen to use that word, oh yes. Mhm. Yeah. What is a sunset says as a former oh, yes, I get it now. All right. Booze bag. I looked quickly. Eons ago. Hmm. So you truly feel those things. So Luna's blade. I call the offender names for the reasons you are saying. I truly feel that person is those things. Okay. I guess it could be flipped the other way. Um, maybe they. I wonder, do they just believe that person? I mean, that if you look at the pose, do they really believe all of those things, or are these merely insults hurled to hurt someone? Yeah. Actions, yes, that could be described. Feel free to like the video. Well, congratulations. Good for you. Been 17 years since you put the bottle down. That deserves applause. Yes, an accomplishment. Yes. Hypnotized by the robot. Amen. One day at a time. That's right. One day at a time. You think her goal is to hurt Maggie, and it really makes me sad, you say, to see it. Well, um, I would say, just looking at the list, those are hurtful things. Yeah, I can't imagine. Yes, that, to tell someone you have no friends, no one likes you, you'll never find love, things like that hit in a different way. They do. Because everyone would like to think of themselves as at least having, you know, someone who cares about them, friends, friends. You have family, but then there's friends, right? No one likes you. That sounds like someone, you know, when we're very, very young, I guess, when there was maybe some kid in class that you noticed who was always left outside of the other kids, playing with them, like no one likes you. I remember hearing that, someone say that to a kid, another child. I say kid, child. Yeah. And that hurts. I mean, you could tell that hurts. Yeah. I saw this video. It was a young girl. She appeared to be maybe around 7 years old. Another child video, but she was crying, and her aunt um, said, was wiping her eyes. Don't cry. And she said, I'm ugly. I'm ugly. Oh, and she was just wiping her tears away. And of course, her aunt was telling her, saying things. No, you're beautiful and that kind of thing. And you could just see in even in the eyes of her aunt. Oh, it just hurt because this child was told, I know it, by another child that they're ugly. Oh, she was just in tears. I felt, oh my goodness, this is going to have an impact on her. Yes. Oh, I mean, the way she said it, you could tell it just hit so deeply. So there's certain things said. It could be a reminder. Yeah, because we all have, no matter how old you are, there's a child in us all, meaning that something can be said or done that can take you back to that point when you were a child. Have you ever heard, in psychology, think back when you were 5 years old. Think back as far as you can think back. Yeah. Because there's a child in all of us. And those memories are seared. Yeah. That's why psychologists will go back. Tell me about a time when it was this or that, right? what you can remember. It always goes back to your childhood. That because start there. Yeah. Hurt people hurt others. Hurt people hurt others. And it's easy for them to do that because they've been hurt and they've learned this. Yeah. And some things hit, like I said, hit differently. They just do. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Angie, yes, isn't this the most important time for development to interact if you have the chance one on one with your mama? Baby Juju says, I reflect back to key periods of my childhood. I think that's important. Yeah. Cup says, I learned that in therapy, I thought I healed from trauma, but I just locked it away. But I learned that some things will come up and can trigger your trauma if you don't do the work. That's correct. And some things take years to do the work. Literally. And just when you think it's, all resolved, there might be something that'll be a trigger. Because depending on what it is, some things you can learn to control, cope with, but they're always there. Yeah, it's coping. Sunset says some of us grow out of that. Gotta handle that trauma before it handles you. I agree. Threw away the keys. Little things can trigger your thoughts. Absolutely, we can all be triggered by something. Do you know? Years and years and years, we're just made up of experiences and thoughts. It's all there. It's all there. Even if it's years and years ago, it's all there. It's just finding, where in the register it is. But every memory, if you're, functioning, every memory is there somewhere, stored. Yeah. With over a decade of therapy, LOL, I've learned some coping skills, but I go back for a tune up every so often. It's all right for anyone to go and talk to someone that is, unbiased. Yeah, that you don't know as a professional that can help. Yeah. Sometimes it takes finding the right therapist too. Yeah. That fits your style, fits for you, individualized. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. Yeah. because some therapists use different methods. Let's see. I agree. After all these years, I am still dealing with my own self-worth. Last night I said, it doesn't matter how beautiful you are. Yeah. You can be the most beautiful person in the world. Come on. We've seen some of that. And still, a person can think quite differently, yeah, about themselves. Even just a scent could bring it all back. Yes, fragrance or scent, yes, I agree. A song, something, someone else telling their story to you, and you're listening, and it might remind you of a time. Yeah. You definitely have to find the right therapist. Yeah. So you agree with that? Romans 8:1. That's crucial. Find the right therapist. Shop around. I would say so. Luna says, that part, Sunset, it took me decades to figure out why I always felt guilty. Guilty. Yeah. Um, that's a big one. I still remember as a child not understanding why I felt so guilty and wondered why I had done what I had done to feel that way. Mhm. You know you're making progress when that guilt begins to disappear. Mhm. Yeah, you know you're making progress because you can stop blaming yourself. Mhm. Angie says, I tell myself that God thinks I'm worthy. Mm. Therefore, there is no condemnation for those in Christ. Mm. I take it that's Romans 8:1. Oh, very good. Sunset says, I'm Catholic. We're born guilty. LOL. I like to lighten the mood, but seriously, yes. I've heard that said. Some feel a lot of guilt. Live with the guilt of certain things. Yeah. Oh, we could get into that. Tools that are used, some people see, religion as that. Um, that's a long pause. I'm not talking about the word. um, it's used in the wrong hands. Yeah, the power that comes with that. Yeah. All right. Who else? Original sin theory. I don't know how controversial this might be. Let me see if I can pull it up. Um, there was a see if I can find this from today. So President Trump, um, uh, he made an address at the Museum of the Bible. All right. And he was emphasizing the role of faith in American identity. All right. So put that to the side. So President Trump has this 12-year-old boy who shared an experience. All right. Let me see if I can pull it up. There's different headlines. All right. So President Trump has this 12-year-old boy who shared how a California school, I believe it's California, forced him to violate his religious beliefs. All right. Let's see if I can. Earlier today, President Trump announced a push to protect prayer in public schools, saying, to have a great nation, you have to have religion. While speaking about the issue, President Trump had a 12-year-old boy from California join him on stage to share how he was forced to read a book that contradicted his beliefs. He had to read this to a kindergarten buddy. Right? The young man told the crowd, quote, I've been a Christian my whole life, and Jesus means everything to me. I believe kids like me should be able to live our faith at school without being forced to go against what we believe. That's why I said this, what I'm going to talk about, can be, controversial. And it is. We're talking about religion is always like that. Let's see. You probably want to know what he had to read. Let me see if I can do that in a tactful way. See if I can find it. A little bit more of it. Okay. So he's coming up to the podium. The young man.
Thank you again, Mr. President.
Let me see if I can pull it over. You can see it. And just tell me what you think. Hang on. Let me make it larger. Fair use commentary.
Hi, I'm Shane Cias. I've been a Christian my whole life, and Jesus means everything to me. When I was in 5th grade, my school forced me to teach my kindergarten buddy about changing his gender using a book called My Shadow is Pink. The book said you can choose your gender based on feelings instead of how God made us. I knew this was not right, but I was afraid of getting in trouble. After my family spoke up, the school treated us badly, and kids started bullying me and my brother because of our faith. And the school did nothing to stop it. It hurt a lot, but I kept trusting God. I believe kids like me should be able to live our faith at school without being forced to go against what we believe. I hope no other family has to go through what mine did. Thank you.
All right. So did you all hear what he said? All right. I know. Oh my OMG, the orange man. I'm focusing on what this child had to say. We'll play it. It was just brief. He was talking about, that he was what he had to read to a 5-year-old about that he could choose his, identity, right? And so he was standing up, for his religious belief, right? So listen again. He's a 12-year-old boy, and this is what they are talking about in school. Having a 12-year-old read to a 5-year-old about a gender change, that you can choose your gender. This is what children are being taught, and they're teaching it to other children and having to read these books. And so he said that goes against his religious belief, and apparently he had a conversation with his parents. And instead of the school supporting him, he's saying, he was ostracized for it. Listen to him again.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Hi, I'm Shane Cias. I've been a Christian my whole life, and Jesus means everything to me. When I was in 5th grade, my school forced me to teach my kindergarten buddy about changing his gender using a book called My Shadow is Pink. The book said you can choose your gender based on feelings instead of how God made us.
He said the book said that you can choose your gender based on feelings. So you've got a 5-year-old being read this, being taught this. I've never, I am the age that I am. Imagine. You're 5, you're very impressionable. You can choose your gender? Oh, I can be something different. And the parents who send their kids to school, maybe they don't want that. But they are teaching children this to teach other children about is getting ready to, you can change your gender. That's why I said fair use commentary. This is for education. This is for criticism. This is for news reporting. This is for teaching. Let's see. What did he say the name of the book was? Let's see if I can go back far enough.
My Shadow is Pink.
Oh,
The book
the
said
name of the book. Wait a minute.
When I was in 5th grade, my school forced me to teach my kindergarten buddy about changing his gender using a book called My Shadow is Pink. The book said you can choose your gender based on feelings instead of how God made us. I knew this was not right, but I was afraid of getting in trouble. After my family spoke up, The school treated us badly, and kids.
Did you hear him? He said he knew it wasn't right in his mind. He said, but he was afraid he would get in trouble. Right? So then he read. He was felt, kind of forced, but he was afraid if he didn't do this, he would get in trouble.
It started bullying me and my brother because of our
They started bullying him and his brother.
faith, and the school did nothing to stop it.
And the school did nothing to stop it. This is in California.
For a lot, but I kept trusting God. I believe kids like me should be able to live our faith at school without being forced to go against what we believe. I hope no one.
So, he said, I feel kids like me should be able to live their faith in school and not be forced to go outside of their faith. Now, something like that, he's a 12-year-old. He's been asked to read from this book to a 5-year-old. And in the book, you can change your gender based on feelings. He said he knew that was wrong in, his belief, but he was afraid because he would get in trouble. So he talked to his parents. The school didn't support him. He was being bullied. This is critical. Now, again, this is very controversial. That's why I said it before I even put it up.
Other family has to go through what mine did. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's his experience. Whether it's President Trump or President Biden or anyone, this is a young man, 12 years old, who's given a book and he's told to read it to a 5-year-old kindergartner. He's, he has a certain religious belief and he knew it went against that. But he felt forced. He read it, talked to his mom, and instead of the school supporting, he got bullied. Him and his brother. Bullied. Now, you don't have to believe his particular religion, but the situation where other kids are allowed to bully another child because of his religious belief and because he's I could say something, but I just, this is really touchy. I know it is. We're talking about gender change and the questions being asked of a lot of Americans. Do you want to spend your money? Do you want to pay taxes, your hard-earned tax? Do you think it's right to pay for an inmate to have that, procedure? So we've got children coming up, 12-year-old, 5-year-old. They're being taught you can choose your gender. A 5-year-old hasn't even really been taught about, what happened to the birds and the bees? So now kids are teaching kids not that, but you can change your gender. And there's a book out here. It's your feelings. You know, if you feel that way, this is what is, I never thought about, but I'm 67 years old. Yeah. That's why I say some years from now, children might be taught, and I just won't say it. Where are we headed as a nation, as a people? You know? Um, yeah, there's freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of, thought, freedom, but to impose that on a child? Yes, what happened to the book? Yes, I know people might laugh at me, the birds and the bees. Well, that's a nice way of saying it, right? Yes. And this child has to compete in the classroom, in his environment, in his school, he's 12. And then he goes on to junior high school. He's going to remember this. He's going to remember this for the rest of his life. Of course, I mean, it's public, right? I might get a lot of blowback by just talking about it, to broach this education in the school system. Instead of preparing the minds for you send your child to get an education, and this is part of it now. A 5-year-old's a brain isn't even fully formed, functioned, as an adult till you're, well beyond maybe 19, 20, 21. Talk to Dr. Ben Carson. He'll tell you, he's a brain, a neurosurgeon. Talk about, child development. Yeah. Don't even fully understand in the gender. Yeah, he knows he's a little boy or a little girl. Yeah. But now you mean I can choose? I'm just 5 years old. I didn't know that. I thought I was going to choose a toy, for Christmas. That's what I should be thinking about. That kind of thing. But yeah. And this is being taught in school. It is. It's very controversial. All right, how did I get into this? All right, let me take him off because this is Night Talk, and yeah, and we're just having a conversation. Yeah. And yeah, I almost didn't talk about it, but here I am, I'm talking about it. V Love says they already have a lot on their plate, but you want to infuse this on a child. Free Bird Lee says, don't agree with this being imposed on our children. However, I don't believe religion should be either. In other words, separation, church and state. no matter what one feels or believes. Baby Juju says it is very inappropriate and potentially damaging for a 12-year-old to teach sex education. Yeah. This is for education, so we can use these terms. Um, whose child did they put a red tie on up there to make up a story and a lie? Was your first thought. So you don't believe it. And you see, everyone is different. I didn't even think about that. All right. You're entitled. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. And yeah, and you are entitled to yours. Yes. To a 5-year-old or any child, correct? This really gets my goat. And those of us against it are called transphobic. Uh, when that's not true at all. Oh, they're definitely get labeled by some. They are children, for crying out loud. Yes. Mhm. What is it called? Woke Part 2. I think I read something today. Yeah. Who created that saying woke? I should look it up. How did that come about? In politics. All right. So to be woke. I know what it means. Um, I just want to know who used it first, or when did it become so mainstream to say it. A lot of people know what it means now, what the word woke means. Was it on a campaign trail? That's probably. So woke is a term that originated from black activism. And now has different meanings depending on the political perspective. So a woke generation, woke. So again, originated from black activists. Activism. That makes sense. Stay woke. Woke. It was derived. Wow, and it's been used for years and years and years. for decades. Adjective derived from African American English, used since the 1930s or earlier to refer to awareness of racial prejudice and discrimination. But it means so much more than that. Over time, woke came to be used to refer to a broader awareness of social inequalities, such as sexism and the denial of LGBTQ rights. Yeah. So it has a much broader meaning. Yeah, stay woke. Hmm. Luna says, I thought it was like 20 years old. It's social injustice. Different meaning, or broader meaning, I should say. Not different, broader today. Awoke. Yeah. All right. It is 11:21. It goes way back. Yeah, I just learned that. I've heard the term, but it's when I'm using it now or ask about it, I said mainstream. Like it's talked about. People talk about it. Yeah. Are you woke? To mean, yeah, much different. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Let me look at my email. We're good there. All right. So tonight, not a lot of music, just a lot of talk. And I appreciate those of you who joined me and stuck with me through the broadcast. But now it's time to say goodnight. Thanks to my moderators, Baby Juju and Vicky Black. Water. But that's going to do it for me. Keep your bear phones on and email me at unwinewithteddy@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Teddy. Good night.